Hello, welcome back to your most distinctive TV channel, Nebo TV. My name is Agbaje Onome, and here today again we have this special person in our midst, someone we all know who is endowed with a lot of wisdom, a person of Mr. Imasue Amowie Izodua. I love pronouncing the full name. It's just so the name itself is interesting. All right, today we want to hear this very interesting story in the Benin Kingdom. It's a story people often misunderstand to be a folktale, but today we're trying to tell you it happened real, and Mr. Imasue will actually be telling us about the story. So stay tuned. All right, welcome to our channel, Mr. Imasue Izodua. I know you're not so new to this Nebo TV, but we are so happy to have you here again and hear you talk. And now we want you to tell us about the story of the Enogi and the Hawk. It's a Benin folktale. People say it's a folktale, but right now we heard it's not a folktale. It's a real life story. So tell us about it and make us aware.
All right, thank you very much. In my little experience in studying my history, most of these folk tales that a lot of persons call folk tales were not actually folk tales. I'm currently trying to do a project with one man, one of the highest authority in Benin history, Dr. Aishene Hakosa. The collaborative work, God willing, is to try to examine all the so-called folk tales in Benin history and prove to the people that they actually existed as an history. The story of the Enogi Nuguneki and the Hawk is a very dramatic story. Not a folktale, it actually happened. Dramatic in the sense that it poses a lot of life lessons to people who would listen to it today and understand what purity can cause. Having your hands dirty can lead to death in the shortest period of time, but when you are clean, you understand that no forces of life can be able to bring you down, because they will not have anything against you to bring you down. That is one of the ultimate life lessons. And secondly, the lessons that I think people will also learn from this episode is that not that the deities of our lands are not efficacious. Alright, it can be because of some of the practices of these deities are no longer clean. Alright, the deities of Edo land, for what I have discovered, is just and fair, and it requires those who are just and fair as well to be able to invoke the potency of these deities. So the question is, most of these practices of these deities of our lands are no longer as clean as they ought to have been. Alright, I will end it there. Let me go straight now to Enogi and the Hawk. The Enogi in question was the Enogi of Ugoneki. History might not be able to remember what was the name of the Enogi. Ugoneki is as a community, or as a settlement. It's as old as Benin Kingdom itself. Edo uswe ewu ni tege. What that means is that it's part of those communities that have been there from time immemorial. There have been prominent families that are offshoots of that Enogi of Ugoneke. two of these prominent are the Osulas and the Wiriobas. Quite two prominent families that sprang up from this dukedom. It is that same community Ugoneke, one of the second son of that Enogi, or one of the Enogis of that Ugoneke, that went to establish even a now more prominent Ugo, which we call Ugoni Yekorion. I'm from Yekorion.
Wow.
Ugo ni Yekorion, it's even now more prominent than Ugoneke, but a lot of persons doesn't know that Ugoni Yekorion is an offshoot of Ugoneke. It is the second son of the Enogi called Ebo that was sent to establish that community towards the Runigbe and other communities in Iyekorion houses. There was, history remembers that there was a mighty tree called Uloko, which the white man, whatever, calls Iroko tree, that was in the front of the compound of this Enogi. And this Enogi was also a fan of bird rearing, what you now call chickens and fowl.
Yeah.
So the mighty Uloko tree housed a very gigantic hawk. And that hawk became legendary because it was terrorizing not only the community but the birds of the Enogi. So at a point in time, the hawk is always fond of coming out early in the morning to steal a chicken from the poultry of this Enogi or of this duke, until a particular day the hawk stole the favorite chicken of this Enogi. The Enogi had invariably positioned that chicken to be used for one celebration or the other. So the hawk came to steal that chicken, kill the chicken, remove the heart, ate the heart, and spew that from up the tall Iroko tree down to earth, where it was splattered all over the floor. Because of that, the Enogi became enraged and said that this will be the last chicken we will ever steal from my poultry. But because there were no guns at that time, now we are talking, that means this story would have been before Obaesige, because it was during the reign of Obaesige that guns were introduced in Benin. So the story in question would have happened before the era of Obaesige, so that means the story could have been over 600 years ago. So instead, the man angrily went into his confinement and brought out a talisman, which the Benin's called Ehwa. There are different types of Ehwa. We have the Ehwa that we call Ososomaye. Then we have the other one that we call Osunu Gyogyo. These two types of Ehwa has almost the same function, but one tends to be immediate. There is the Osunu Gyogyo is an instant wisher, like whatever you wish, it happens. So because of he was so pained, it is rare for you to use these two type of talisman on just a single thing. You can use them differently, but to get an instant result, you use both. So because he wanted to get an instant result in punishing the hawk for having sinned against earth and sinned against the order of the world, so he brought out his Ehwa, the Ososomaye, put it on his right hand, There was Sunugogo on the left hand, and he placed it to the hawk. The hawk obviously was having fed from that nice chicken, was glowing in pride, smiling on top of tree, calculating how to get another meal for the previous for the next day. So angrily, the man took this 2AY and pointed it towards the hawk and placed a curse that I did not use your money to buy any of this chicken, yet day after day you continue to ravage my poultry, and today you stole my best chicken. So because of this, I command you now to fall down from wherever you are and scatter on the floor. He pointed it out to the hawk. Nothing happened to the hawk. He made the invocations again and again for more than 5 to 6 times. At a point in time, he now looked and started to doubt the potency of these 2 magical talismans in his possession. Then after some time, he took a break. He went to his inner chamber to have a deep thought of what could have been the problem. That is it that my 2 talismans are no longer efficacious. Is it that I have sinned against the order of the world, and that is why the invocation of my spell did not work on the hawk. He thought for a moment. Then a true reflection of the event of the world flipped through his mind, and he remembered that as an hawk, it's in the natural order to steal lower animals. That if a human being goes to hunt and kill an antelope, it is not a sin against the natural order, because that is how it is. That the higher in the peck feeds on the lower. So it is how God has created the hawk to feed on smaller animals, or animals that the hawk can kill. So that means that is how God created the hawk. The hawk has not sinned against humanity, has not sinned against the natural order of things. That is how God has created the hawk. So the hawk is not at fault. So when you are not at fault, the potency of known talisman can be able to bring you down. That was the same example. So the man had thought for himself, I have to make this hawk sin against the natural orders of things before my 2 talisman can bring this hawk down. Then he now remembered he has a white cloth that he wears at that time to the palace, to the Obabiling palace, for some ceremony. So it was one of the cleanest of all the white. So he finally washed the white and spread the white around the tree. That this is my compound. I'm allowed to spread my cloth anywhere I want to spread my cloth. You want to spread the cloth below the mighty tree. So after some time, he was actually waiting for the hawk to sin against the natural order. The hawk, not understanding how these things works, eventually defecated on these beautiful white clothes. And when the man came out and saw that the hawk eventually has defecated on this white cloth, he smiled, because he knows that the hawk has sinned against the natural order of life by spoiling another man's property. So he smiled. He went back to his inner chamber, brought the 2 talismans again, did the invocation that he had done earlier on against the hawk. Lo and behold, in a few minutes, there was a rattling on top of the tree. The hawk fell mightily and fell to the ground, and it got scattered on the floor and all that. That's how the hawk died. Now, like I had said, there are things that the viewers must learn from this true life story that happened. That when you are pure, when you've not been able to break the rules of the natural orders of life, you don't have anything to be afraid of. This story is so dear to me as an individual that last year I had several death threats because of my advocacy for Edo lands. I was not afraid because I remember the story that I'm pure. I have not sinned against any natural orders of things, because what I have been doing is to advocate for the truth of the history of my people. So it reminds me all the time, and this story reminds me to always ensure that I do things the way it ought to be. To sin against other persons is something that at all times the story has taught me to run from. Even if it had happened to a lower animal, but it reminds us that there are actually natural order of things, that those who tends to be against it will fall by the same things that they are against. And that is what the story is all about. So it reminds us, it should remind the viewers that they should learn to allow the natural order of things be the way they are without having to hurt other people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muwie Masme Zodua. That was a very interesting story. Even the Holy Book, the Bible, tells us how important it is to be pure in heart and with nature as well. So that will be the end for today's show. I'm so happy you guys watched, and I hope to see you next time on Nebo TV. Do not forget, my name remains Agbaje Onome. Thank you.